So we just talked about the shell casings being absent. I also mentioned Siphon, who's known as Siphon Kerr, the stepfather of Tentacion. There's also several other parties. Now, here's where the conundrum happens. I seen a Christina Kerr, and we know Cleopatra, who's Tentacion's mom, but allegedly the counterpart and let's say girlfriend, for better terms, of Siphon. So does he have two women? Is this so? I'm looking at the officers and documents of this foundation that we're going to talk about after I mention this. Does he allegedly have two women? Is this a sister wife type thing? Now, the commenter that mentioned this, I do briefly remember reading what you said. Please hop in the comments and re-say what you said earlier. This was brought out to me, but it was around the time I was talking about some other things. And I'm sorry I don't remember your name, but I want you to take your credit. I'll pin you at the top. Was this a sister wife relationship? And is it continuing to be that? Now, obviously, the last name Kerr, there would be someone who has married this woman to make her a Kerr. Or is this person a relation? Now, I don't think so from the documents that I have. I'm not going to post the documents. They're very, let's say, professional. That's why I give a shout out to Miss Morgan, because I really don't know what your occupation is. All I can tell is that you have details that most people don't have. But I appreciate that you communicate with me, and it's always appreciated. And I'm going to always give you the credit for these documents that I'm reading and when I'm calling out different things. Now, there's Christina Kerr, there's Cleopatra Bernard, and there's Siphon. Literally, all three of these individuals are in relative financial gain of this foundation. If this foundation that we'll talk about soon was linked to a situation that would require or inquire and gain monetary value from the passing of Tentacion, these three would definitely be beneficiaries. Because he was a president, he was probably also the donator and one of the sole donators because of the amount of money he had. Again, we remember before he left, he said he wanted to do something really good. So my thoughts would be he pushed a lot of money into this foundation before he left here. Was this the chance they were waiting for? Is this the chance that someone was allegedly waiting to set him up and get rid of him because his viewpoints were not the same as the rest? Yes, he was well off. He was a musician because of his talent. But did this open up the gate to allow him to be targeted because he had so much money? This is something very serious and something we have to take into consideration, being the course that was laid out in front of us dealing with Tentacion and just the type of thoughts. Now, there's no fanatic that can deny that this man was looking forward to putting in the work to help others who were less fortunate. He even declared this to the moon and back. These were things he put into perspective. It's not something that's new to us. But seeing that he thought that way and sincerely felt that way, even after dealing with his dramas, with the run-ins with the law, he also had run-ins with different individuals that we can consider would be of a violent nature. Did this entice him to want to do more for others? But on the backside, the motives around him were not the same. Now, let's go step back a second. Remember, I told you that he would not have had any understanding or correlation to know the characters, personalities around him because he did not spend that much time around them. Did he know the criminal history of his alleged stepfather? Did he know his mother's history? Did he know Christina Kerr's history? Did he know Devin Kerr's history? Yes, a new name added. Although I do not have him linked to this foundation that this family unit was holding down, I do have him in relation to the stepfather. So was there multiple parties working around him to devise a plan to take him away from here so that they can be in power? This is all alleged, and we're just working through it objectively in thought. Now, why do I even think this? People say, why would you think something like this? Because of the evidence, because of the missing name of the passenger, and basically the fictitious nature of the witness, the anchor, first on the scene. And if you remember, who was first on the scene to arrive? It was his mother and his stepfather. See, normally we'd be like, well, you know what I mean? But why wouldn't they expect him to be ran to a hospital? Why would they show up, be first called to the scene? How did they know to show up if authorities didn't arrive? That's what's blowing my mind. Like, how are you first on the scene when authorities weren't there yet? How'd you do it? Like, how'd you know? Like, what was it that they knew that we don't know, that they arrived first on the scene, but basically no one really knew what was going on with them yet? This is very troubling, being that we got the news, we were shocked. And what shocked me most is that authorities in an ambulance didn't arrive as soon as certain others arrived. A story began being broadcast before we even see police on the scene. So maybe it's not authorities' fault. Maybe authorities were called later. That's part of what I'm saying. You would put up a situation so that you know he's deceased. You know he could not outlive the situation. But then on the backside, we get authorities involved. Now I got people running to the scene and they're basically looking over a body I know is deceased and going. This would be the alternative to a setup that he's still alive. It's either or. It can't be both. So that's what I'm saying. And from me looking into this foundation we're going to talk about today, I can tell you it makes a lot of sense financially why this was very important, why this would have been some type of success for these young men versus the normal we see, why this would have been some type of gratification versus what we know to be, let's say, truth. There's many different aspects to how this is taken, but one thing I can assert in you is that there were very unsavory characters around Tentacion. I don't think he knew this. See, when you're growing up as a child, you put all of your respects to the person that's helping to build you. Being he was looking for attention, he would have done nothing that would have disappointed anybody in his life that was quote unquote family. He would have done his best to please everyone because he knows what it's like to be without it, being that helped create the music we know today. But was there a darker motive he was not aware of? Was there people that actually wanted to see financial gain that he was not offering because he had a conscience and he had respect about himself? These are very intuitive factors that need to be understood. There could have been any matter or any meaning of, let's say, lack of growth that caused him to look past characters if he saw something, to believe that everyone could change and be new. We see this many times where even you have a situation where if someone had someone that wasn't around in their life that should have been, they're willing to give second chances and third and fourth and fifth chances to these people who were supposed to help them grow, but now they're coming to watch a grown person and try and make up for lost times. This is nothing new, and it makes a lot of sense being what went down and how it went down. Again, somebody hopped in and said there was blood in the scene. We don't have any pictures. If you have a bloody picture of XxXTentacion, which should be being the way he was shot in the description, please post it. Post it. I already have many more documents on the backside that are adverse to that theory. I would like you to post it so I'm able to understand and see what you see so that my facts are straight about this. Because when it was first released, when he was freshly presumed to have been slaughtered, there was no blood. So I want to see the wounds that leaked blood hours after. I never saw this factor. And this is very important because it helps to put together a picture of true motives. If you look at these suspects, and we'll get into this today, he did allegedly have a past with Trayvon Newsom. So all this would be is motives of player hatred. So yes, for some suspects, I can pull player hatred. But behind this, I see a true detail of malicious thought and premeditated activity to even set these suspects up to end up all in the same place where he was going to, which was Riva Motorsports, regardless if they're normal customers, usual customers. How did they know where he was going to be? How did they understand he was going to be in this one spot at this one time for us to ambush. There had to be a mastermind. What if the mastermind was none other than officers that were within this foundation working with him? Because it would be easy for me as a guardian to say, hey, where you going today? You care if I ride along? Hey, before we go there, let's get this much money out. You got it. Let's just go there and see what we see. Then it also would have been nothing for me while I'm in the store to say, nothing here is good. Remember what the witness was saying. See, I believe the witness mixed truth with lies. That is the best way to tell a story. The only thing he messed up by doing is contradicting himself on the news broadcast when he was saying different things like I ran, but I saw what happened. It was very, let's say, verbal. It was a verbal way of contradiction. It was not a contradiction of details. Other than being told he was the guy that ran inside was the uncle, who I'm alleging was not the uncle, but it would have to be somebody who literally was either really female or actually someone else with a different title that could lie as the uncle. And it would have been accepted if this guy was a true fanatic, which he claimed to be. And since then, the witness has been very quiet if you checked it out. So what I'm thinking is that a potential payday allegedly could have kept him quiet. Think you're a normal person. Someone's willing to give you hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, even up to $1 million, to be quiet when you witnessed it. So now direct evidence is gone. So they really don't have anything to reference what actually happened. But yes, there was a foundation X was linked to. We'll get into that today. You know how I rock. All rights reserved.